Alright, mama. Better watch this movie and be quiet.
Like any decent hotel, there are wake-up calls. Attentive staff.
Did you not hear what I said? Yes or no? Okay, your hands, go on right here.
And vacancies guaranteed any day or night.
So that sends a message. The sheriff will make room no matter what.
Welcome to Arizona's 10th City Jail. Home to Sheriff Joe Arpaio's unconventional detention. Where more is spent on feeding police dogs than the inmates.
This is America's toughest jail.
No cigarettes, no porn, no coffee. But everyone gets to wear
Why pink? He's a hate pink. Why would you give them a color they like? Also, we have pink handcuffs. So everything's pink.
and daily workouts are complimentary
March time, march!
on the sheriff's chain gang. In the sweltering Arizona heat, Sheriff Arpaio wants his guests to be so happy to leave, they'll never return. New inmates are entering the Maricopa County Jail System, one of the largest and toughest prisons in America. 10,000 inmates are packed into 6 jails spread out across the city, and more arrive every day. In Phoenix, there are more inmates than jail cells. To deal with the overflow, Sheriff Joe Arpaio created 10th City.
I will always have room. I will go to my grave. Before I let these guys out early, I'll put more tents up from here to Mexico if I have to. So that sends a message. The sheriff will make room no matter what.
In the desert near downtown Phoenix, 10th City houses 2,000 inmates in canvas tents. Unlike the county's other jails, where offenders spend most of their time locked in cramped cells, inmates here get plenty of time outdoors. But that's where the advantages end. Temperatures inside the tents can reach 45 degrees Celsius in summer. To save money, extras like sugar, salt, pepper, and coffee are banned. Tobacco and porn are also strictly forbidden. And with no bars to control a volatile mix of inmates, officers maintain order with military-like discipline and force.
All right, gentlemen, listen up. This is a strict disciplinary environment. There is no arguing. There is no disrespect towards staff members when you're here. You will address everybody here as ma'am, sir, or officer. Does everybody understand? Yes, sir. All right.
In this tense environment,
I'm putting this crap on
prisoners
YouTube.
and guards simmers.
So I'm on Instagram watching this
Boils
crap.
over.
So what's your situation here? I just want to know why we're going to fix it. Because you're getting searched. It's part of being in jail.
In the last decade, scores of inmates and guards in the local county jails have been injured in violent clashes. 4 inmates have died, raising concerns in Phoenix and the rest of America. 10 city inmates have been convicted of crimes ranging from drug possession to assault. They usually serve a maximum sentence of 1 year, if they stay out of trouble. But if they get out of line, they could end up in lockdown at an indoor jail or serving a much longer sentence in state prison. It's 19-year-old Ryan Molina's first day here.
All right, gentlemen, listen up. When Officer Dewar calls your name, grab your property and step forward.
Merlina.
I don't know what I would really compare it to. There's no comparison. It's pretty crappy here. I think this is pretty hard time right here.
He's been convicted of forgery, burglary, and most recently, possession of methamphetamine. A meth user since he was 12, Ryan Molina has spent his teen years in and out of juvenile detention. This is his first time in the adult system. In exchange for pleading guilty, the court offered Ryan a deal. If he behaves himself, he'll serve just 6 months at Tent City. But if he messes up, he'll get 12 years in state prison.
I was not expecting this when you gave me jail.
This is pretty much my last chance. If I do mess up in here or on the outside, I'm looking at 12 years off the bat.
But surviving at Tent City is going to be harder than anything he's ever done. The 19-year-old is surrounded by a range of criminals, from shoplifters to convicted killers. And living conditions are harsh. He gets a bedroll, a sheet, and a bunk in a tent with 21 other prisoners.
Welcome to the tent, bro.
His main motivation to behave and get out of jail is to see his son, who was born while he awaited sentencing.
I think about my child a lot. I think about what's gonna happen if I don't change my ways. I grew up without a father, and yeah, I wouldn't want that to happen to him.
Recently, Ryan's mother and girlfriend cut ties with him because of his drug use. At Tent City, he's also on his own. Veteran jailer Sergeant Mendoza has worked for a decade in Phoenix jails, including 2 years at Tent City. Like his fellow officers, he enforces zero tolerance for rule breakers.
Sir, you need to get your shirt on before you step out of your tent.
Mendoza is on the front line in the battle against the illegal trade in contraband. But he faces a constant challenge to his authority, the racial groups that dominate Tent City.
Unfortunately, everything out here is organized by race. When a new inmate comes into our system, they'll be approached by someone from their race who will explain to them what the rules and expectations are out here.
The #1 rule is to stick to your own ethnic group. Each group has its own seating area and name. African Americans are called kinfolk. Mexicans, paisas. Mexican Americans, Chicanos. Native Americans, chiefs. And the whites are called the Woods. The gang leaders claim they provide protection, but officers say they're
Okay, y'all gonna ignore that right there. What?
It's a game that just goes on and on.
What?
When you push it back, the reverse it.
For new inmates like Ryan Molina, there may be safety in numbers. But sometimes it's not fresh faces have to worry about. It's their own. For inmates who break the rules of their race, punishment is swift and painful. For minor infractions like a verbal insult, a chin check, or punch in the jaw. For a major offense, like not paying back a debt, smashing, a vicious beating by 3 or more inmates. The influence of racial gangs threatens prison officers' grip on control.
They are criminals, and you can't turn your... Right now, when you look out on this yard, everything is quiet, but that could change at a moment's notice. We have had some major disturbances out here in the past. We've actually had an inmate take control of the yard.
In 1996, Tent City exploded into violence when all of the racial groups rioted after an officer allegedly shot pepper spray in the face of an inmate. The situation quickly spiraled out of control. Inmates took 8 guards hostage and burned 2 tents to the ground. It took law enforcement 3 hours to regain control of the jail. To deal with rioting inmates, the jail has a heavily armed unit called the Special Response Team, or SRT. Sergeant Irby is in charge of one of 4 SRT squads that make daily raids throughout the jail system.
We're called whenever there's a situation in the facility that has gotten out of hand. Be it from multiple inmate fights, we've responded to 20, 30 inmates fighting in a pod.
Irby's team of 7 officers responds to everything from brawls to assaults on jail staff.
My job is care, custody, control, and heavy on the control end of it now that I'm a member of this. And that's all we intend to do, is to control the situation.
story about a magical place where everything's amazing.
If newcomer Ryan Molina gets involved in illegal activity, the special response team will strike. Trouble may find him, whether he wants it or not. At the end of his first day, Ryan Molina returns to his tent. The woods are waiting for him. They're ready to officially claim him as a member of their group.
This is America's toughest jail.
Exactly.
He meets the white gang leader, called the Head, and the rule enforcer, called the Torpedo. The identities of the highest-ranking members must be kept a secret from detention officers. Being the head of a racial group is against jail rules.
You smart off to any of the DOs, your tent's gonna get tossed, your bunkies are gonna get mad at you over it.
The DOs have ways of turning us against each other if we mess up. That's their way of punishing us. I mean, they'll make you look like a bad guy and get your tent tossed on you. Then it's going to make everybody in your tent mad at you. So just don't do anything to disrespect any of your fellow inmates in your tent.
Ryan is learning the unwritten rules of Tent City. If he disregards them, his group can turn on him in an instant.
You're not a kid, you're an adult. You know what to do, what not to do.
You got a nice haircut, too. I like that.
Ryan must master two conflicting sets of rules, those of his fellow inmates and those of the jail. If he can't maintain this dangerous balancing act, the consequences could be devastating. It's 5 a.m. at Tent City in Phoenix, Arizona. An officer wakes up first-time offender Ryan Molina and hustles him out of the tent. All inmates at Tent City have jobs, and Ryan starts his today.
Who? 2113.
Go over there, gentlemen.
He'll be serving food to inmates at the nearby Towers jail, just across the parking area from Tent City. It's a job with challenges and temptations that could land him in serious trouble.
From what I heard, a lot of the inmates in here are going to want extra food, and consequences for me getting extra food, I'll be going to the hole, so I can't do that.
Unlike inmates at Tent City, who have all been convicted, 70% of these men are still awaiting trial. But Towers Jail offers even less freedom than Tent City. On chow duty, Molina will come face-to-face with aggressive inmates who spend 23 hours a day locked in small cells. Their charges range from driving without a license to assault with a deadly weapon. They'll try to threaten and bribe him for more food. For a former meth addict and troublemaker, avoiding danger and opportunities could be tough. To keep costs down, the jail feeds these inmates only 2 meals a day of surplus food. The sheriff's office publicizes the fact that it spends just 40 cents per inmate per day on food, compared to $1.40 for police dogs. As Ryan gets ready to deliver the budget food, one of his co-workers prepares him for what's about to come.
They get 1 meal, 1 bag. That's it. They'll ask you, they'll beg you, they'll cry, and they'll hide their milk, saying they didn't get a milk. Yeah.
Ryan steels himself. To keep things in order, inmates are ordered to line up in single file. A detention officer carefully checks each prisoner's ID to make sure they only get 1 bag of food.
Hey, what do you got? Cell. 11.
Under the officer's watchful eye, things go smoothly at first. But as soon as his back is turned, one inmate tries it on.
Hey, give me an extra level back.
Can't do it, man. Can't do it, dog.
passes his first test, and things are calm for the moment.
Now you're doing that. And that. That's how you do it.
Gives the signal. Go. Officer fires a thundershot from his 12-gauge shotgun.
Dang, that boy got a 12 gauge, just like my mama.
And flash of light.
Pop, you know police officers like the sheriff's SWAT? Man, they got 12 gauge. Huh?
Only good on the short distance, not good when you go way out. Spread. 12 gauge got
SRT uses the element of surprise for the simple reason that we need to catch them off guard. We used that boar thunder to get their attention. Everybody went to the floor and we control the situation.
Many inmates think such force is excessive, but to Sergeant Irby and his officers, prisoners are there to be controlled.
No talking. SRT is zero tolerance. We're not going to put up with a bunch of talking, a bunch of moving around. We control the situation, and if we can't control the situation, then we'll shut it down. We control it. You move when I tell you to. You talk to me when I want you to talk. Understand what I'm saying?
With the inmates stripped down and under control, the team fans out to search each inmate and each cell for any banned items. They're hunting for tobacco or drugs, and the equipment needed to smoke them.
We found where they actually had little glass pipes stuck in stuff like this. First glance, it's straight see-through, you don't even notice it. So it's kind of good to put it up to the light.
Officer Spaulding has served with Sergeant Irby for a year and a half.
One coming down. 14! Put your hands on your head. Keep your pants on. I don't want to see anything. Take your shirt off.
She knows that keeping nearly 100 inmates in line is a dangerous business, and she takes her responsibility seriously.
You know, zero tolerance. Sergeant Irby tells us zero tolerance. And that's exactly what we do.
Every corner and every object in the cell needs to be carefully checked. Even seemingly innocent items like plastic bottles can become dangerous weapons in the wrong hands.
So sometimes what they like to do is they take the cleaner and douse an officer with it, especially if it's bleach. So anything that is not in its original container is going to be considered contraband.
Inmates are constantly finding new ways to make weapons.
But what they'll do is they'll take that razor blade and they'll place it in between, and then they'll tighten this up with rubber bands, and they'll use it as a shank. Slice somebody open with it when they least expect it.
One of the items found today is a bottle of homemade alcohol, or hooch, which inmates make out of fermented fruit, bread, and smuggled in sugar.
Inmates take anything they can that's sweet and put it with bread, and then through the stages of fruit, it ferments, and then it turns into an alcohol. They make an alcohol out of it. But the few guys that I know that have ever drank it have told me it'll make you sick if you drink too much of it.
For Irby and his squad, the hooch confirms that the contraband trade is still thriving. As long as inmates deal in contraband, there's the potential for violence. And that means the special response team will need to keep the pressure on.
I know, guys. I know.
This is a brief history of B&H, everyone's favorite photo and video store.
Edward Ramirez is used to the raids. This is his fourth stint in county jail for crimes ranging from petty theft to assaulting his estranged wife's boyfriend. Now, he's near the end of a 4-month sentence for violating parole.
I've been in and out of the system. I've been in here from cases of aggravated assault, theft of means of transportation, forgery, to selling drugs, carrying concealed weapons. I lived on the streets, and when you live on the streets. There's a lot of things that you do to survive.
Like Ryan Molina, Edward Ramirez started out in Tent City. He got kicked out for being the head of a racial group. Now he's on lockdown at Towers Jail. That means sharing this 8x10-foot cell with 2 other inmates 23 hours a day.
Well, this is locked down. We have 3 inmates in here. Here's our toilet, and in our same room we eat, and the 3 of us also sleep here. It's difficult. You get a lot of mood swings with your cellmates, even though if you guys do get along, because you're just irritated being locked down, cramped in this small little area.
The father of 4 says he had just about given up hope on a future outside of jail. Then, he received a letter from his 11-year-old daughter.
Hi, Daddy, I miss you so much. I get sad sometimes, but I know that I have to be strong for the babies, so I cry in my room at night. How long do you have to stay in the hole? You will always be in my heart forever and ever. Hope you get out soon.
But there's only one way out of lockdown. The chain gang. Inmates on the chain gang work long hours outside in the desert heat, doing jobs like cleaning up roadside rubbish and digging graves. Many inmates can't take the heat and quit. The jail calls it a last chance program. The inmates call it hell. But the ones who can make it for 30 days on the chain gang can earn a transfer out of lockdown at Towers Jail, open air at Tent City. With just 4 weeks left on his sentence, Edward Ramirez says his only reason to join is to show he can be a better man.
It's just a lot of responsibility that's required being on the chain gang. We gotta be up early, have our beds made, we gotta pick up trash, serve chow to all the other inmates in this facility.
But following rules has been hard for him in the past. And if he disobeys orders on the chain gang, it could add years to his sentence. Meanwhile, it's Ryan Molina's second week at Phoenix Jail's Tent City. At just 19 years old, he's in with convicts who are twice his age. Fights break out constantly, mostly over contraband like cigarettes.
The tobacco in the yard, it creates a problem because now the races are fighting for the right to sell it, the right to move it, and the right to have it.
For officers like Sergeant Irving, cracking down on contraband is a daily struggle. At times,
Everything going all right?